Hello, everyone. Now, have you ever asked yourself what would happen if Brotato and Spore made sweet, sweet love and had a child, and then let Carrion be its nanny? Well, if you haven't, I'm sorry for that mental image. If you have, however, welcome to the weird side of the internet. Also, this is going to be the answer to that question. Welcome to Bioprototype, a game we're going to be first tasting today. As the intro has already betrayed, this is a bit of a roguelike, round-based, beat-them-up kind of game with a very strong biology theme. You'll get it once we start. Now, the ways in which this is very similar to Brotato is that as you make your way through the game, you will unlock through various achievements or milestones as you progress different types of characters that you can start the game with, which don't really have enormous change on the core game loop, but they do affect it in certain ways, making certain types of playstyle more attractive to you. Though some do actually change up the core rule set in some greater or minor way. In terms of the collections, there are lots of different organs. Think very much Spore. And adding different cells to your early Spore creatures to give them different abilities. That is the core of this game, but where it really differs is the way that you use them. All of the unlocked organs and components can be split into two types of general component for your prototype. That is, things that do stuff and things that activate the things that do stuff. And you can end up with incredibly convoluted chains. You might want to imagine this as a nerve cluster which will trigger the organ to the right every 5 seconds. And that organ will be some doing organ. Maybe it will stab something, maybe it will shoot something, maybe it will leave a puddle of poison on the ground. But where it gets really complicated is where those organs can themselves chain. So you might, say, every second shoot a projectile, which then explodes. And that explosion can cause things to become electrocuted. And the electrocuted enemies, when they die, will leave a puddle of poison on the ground. And that puddle of poison, once it hits any uninjured enemy, will explode with more bullets. And it gets very, very wild, and it's a lot easier to show than to explain. So, you know what, let's just go ahead and jump straight into the game and show you fresh. Now, I'm going to be playing with a mixture of keyboard and control pad. I find the gameplay, the actual once you're in the game, is much more fluid with analog stick, but menus are much easier with mouse and keyboard. For this one, I'm just going to go with the base prototype, no special ability, just so you can see what the game is like at its core. We're going to go with the first true stage. This is more of a tutorial stage, really. This one will actually give us a bit more of something to play with. Now, there is absolutely no action that I am performing other than movement. The attacks are not controlled by me. They are controlled by the organs that I have and the way that I have connected them to this creature's brain. And you'll get a much better idea for what I mean by that the first time we complete a wave, because that's where you can start changing up your prototype. So here we go. The first thing we're going to decide here is what we want to get as a reward. Every wave tends to give you rewards, and you can do things to change how good those rewards might be. Now, the key things to look at here is what is it? All of these are triggers. So they're all like nerves of some sort. They will activate something. And the vessels here tells us how many connections to the right this trigger has. Because this retina, for example, if it had 3 little pips here, could trigger 3 individual actions from different organs if you wanted to. Efficiency is also very important as it affects the overall output of an item. Let's say a limb would do 1 damage normally, and you had an organ that was activating it with 200% efficiency. Well, it would do 2 damage. The right side compatibility here, it's always left, right. The left is the kind of the sequence of nerve firing moves from the left to the right of your organism. Right side compatibility, so this retina could trigger a tentacle, a limb, a horn, or offspring. Offspring is particularly fun. The retina of the vulture over here activates the right side organ when the left side organ directly kills an enemy, so this is particularly useful if it follows a high damaging weapon. This one activates the right side organ when the left side organ contributes to a kill, so it doesn't need to be the killing blow, it just needs to have done something. And the cochlea of the cat over here activates the right side organ while the effects of the left side organ expire. So you might want this on something which naturally peters out, like a puddle of poison on the ground. We're going to go with the retina of the raven there, though. We've also got another reward. We've got a spine. We've got offspring. Now, this one is a particularly useful one because it's got very high fertility. Offspring have to have a fertility above 1 to be able to be born when triggered. And the further away they are from the brain, that is, the further left of the main kind of nerve stem, again, this will make a lot more sense in just a second, the less fertile they become, losing 20% fertility with each extra step. So you need some very, very fertile organs to trigger offspring, but the offspring of the ant is a kind of an outlier in that it's almost fertile by itself. The spine of the white fox activates the right side organ periodically, every 1 second. We'll actually pick that up at 119. Right, now, there are a couple of things here. You can always test your organism. You can go into culture and develop your organism. You can do all sorts of things like increasing base damage, move speed, HP, brain capacity, which will make sense in a second. Also, the amount of brain that it has. Yes, because we're not developing any humdrum organism here. No. We want a very, very smart boy. Very many brains. Very much brain capacity. Organ quality that will drop. Cells. You may have seen me picking up little loot piles from each organism we killed. Those are cells that we use to pretty much buy and modify the organism rather. So here we go. Here's the brain of the organism. Join the glorious evolution. Right side compatibility. It can connect to a heart, a spine, lungs, intestines, bladders, or stomachs. Right now we've got it connected to a spine. Is this any better? No, this one is the better spine right now. This spine is connected to a tentacle, the tentacle of your pupa. Fires a projectile when activated. So right now it triggers every second, fires a 9 damage item out. Last wave gives us an idea of how well it performed. Critical chance is 20%. The duration of the shot is 1 second. It can pierce through 2 organisms. Now, all of these can change. I could have 2 tentacles of the pupa, and all of this information could be different between them. You do have colors, kind of following traditional MMORPG kind of color schemes of the more colorful, the more legendary the item, and typically the better stats. But even 2 items of exactly the same quality can have different numbers involved. Projectile amount 1, so it'll only shoot out 1 every time, but there could be a maximum of 200. Now you might be wondering, well, how is that ever going to be possible when it can only shoot once every second and it only lasts for a second? Offspring is pretty much my answer to that. Now, right side compatibility, it can connect to a nerve, a spine, a retina, or a cochlea. So we're going to pop down a retina. Now, I don't actually have any actual item to connect there. I could put a spine there if I really wanted to. You know what, I'll throw that in there. But the reason for this is insufficient frequency. This triggers once every second. This also once every second. If I want that to activate, I believe I need something that triggers less frequently. So maybe 1.5 seconds triggering, then this would be able to work within that. I believe that's how it works. We'll pop the retina down for now, though. It really isn't going to change anything for us initially. Now then, in terms of culture, we haven't got anything to do, so we're just going to jump straight in there. We haven't changed our organism in any way, but the levels are going to progressively get harder. We will get more cells. Now, very much like Brotato, any cells that I don't pick up off the ground will kind of go into a bank, and then that many cells in the next round will be worth twice as much. So you don't really lose the cells until you fail to pick up a lot for several missions in sequence. But as long as you do a solid effort to pick up the cells, and there are organs that can radically improve your ability to collect cells, then you should be okay. Now, we've got the belly of the Aliku, I'm not sure what that is. Inflict shock on the target for a duration when activated. Hosts affected by shock take increased damage from all resources. The debuff effect scales with the efficiency of the left side organ. This will last for 2.87 seconds, and then we'll take 12 damage normally. Spine, retina, intestine, cochlea, lung, stomach. We've also got the offspring of the honey rat. Now, this one, unlike the eggs, which just kind of sit there and have a very specific use, the offspring of the honey rat will move around. They last for a duration when activated. Honey rats cannot get damaged and move towards you. Every organ located between the two will reduce its fertility, and it starts with only 0.6 fertility to begin with, but does have a nice long duration, can connect to a lot of different things. Spine of the White Fox over here, though, has 2 vessels. It activates every 0.97 seconds with an efficiency of 144. As you can see, this is a blue spine, so it is actually much better. We are tempted to take it. However, I think instead I want to take the belly here, but I think we're going to take the spine of the White Fox. It's too tempting. We've got a stomach of the duck over here. Activate the right side organ periodically. This organ's brain capacity cost is reduced by 1, while there's only 1 organ on the right side. It costs 3 normally. We've got currently a brain capacity of 8, I believe. The cycle is pretty good. Efficiency is meh. But we would be able to reduce this to 2 at best. It does have 2 vessels though, but if we use both of them, then it'll go back to a cost of 3. This is not a good stomach. You can refresh if you particularly want to, and we do. I want to try and find a weapon. There we go. Tentacle over here. Tentacle of the Hornet. Fires projectiles when activated. It will fire 1 projectile. It can have a max of 200. Projectile speed is decent. Duration is 1 second. Does a decent critical damage and a good damage overall. We've got the spine of the mammoth over here as well. Activation cycle is 2.84 seconds, but has a massive efficiency. This would be a spine you would want for a offspring. But we're going to grab the tentacle of the hornet there, and let's have a quick look at what we can do down here. Now, I could hook up the tentacle of the hornet right there. This is already a quite nice setup. So what would happen here is the tentacle of pupa would hit something, and as long as that contributes to a kill, then the corpse, the point of the kill, would spawn another shot. Now, I could easily do this instead and have these just trigger at the same time from me. But what will likely happen is, because your shots will naturally aim towards the closest enemy, both of these shots will aim towards the same thing. I won't get any chain reactions with this. So I think instead we're going to change this up a little bit, and we're going to do that. Now, I would like some other effects over here, but I would like something other than a projectile. Also, this triggers more frequently than this does, with a much higher efficiency. So even though I'm not going to be using this, it is better to have that as the first connector. So now I'm doing 21 damage instead of the base 15. This has got 197, so again, better than either of these. So this will, again, do a little bit more damage. So I think this is a good setup right now. We've also got enough that I can start increasing things. And I recommend going for pickup range over almost anything else. Max this out. Pickup range also is quite nice in that it doesn't cost more the higher you take it. You can get it up to the point where you've got 100% extra range on pickups, and since cells are the main currency, makes sense to do it. Other things tend to get more expensive as you upgrade them. Right, let's get into battle and see how our new organism goes. The organism will change over time. As you can see there, it's bouncing off, which is perfect. But it will change over time based on the organs that you've got connected. And I can't quite tell whether the shots are aiming for the enemy that is closest to me when the shot spawns, or the enemy which is closest to the point of the spawn. I think it's closest to me. I think all shots will aim for the nearest enemy to me, even if that means the shot has to travel much, much further. Now, at this point, you would be right in thinking that this is making it harder for me to hoover up all of the cells, because they're getting distributed a lot more, especially as piercing shots just travel off in a direction. Ooh, we've got some nice weapons here. So we've got a nerve of the meerkat here, activates the right side organ, while the left side organ hits a boss or an elite. We haven't seen any of those, and we're probably not going to see too many of those in this run, because it's only stage 1, but in the later stages, this would probably start paying for itself quite quickly. We've got a limb here. Launch a short-range swipe when activated. Damage 18. Critical chance 35. And effective radius is 3.39. Not bad. We've got the tentacle of the swordfish. Fires projectiles repeatedly when activated. Fires 3 projectiles. That one actually might not be a bad one. It does have a vessel. They don't always. Sure, I think I'll take that. Gland of the snail. Now, you're going to notice a lot of different things unlocked here. Glands, stomachs, intestines. When you first start playing, most of those are not there. You've basically got retinas, nerves, and tentacles, and a couple of other things unlocked. Quite a lot of this stuff gets unlocked as you progress through the game, and every time you complete it, it unlocks a couple of things. If you've played Slay the Spire, you'll be familiar with, at the end of a run, unlocking new cards which can then appear in future runs. It's very much the same system. Nerve of the Boxer I'm always happy for, but it's got a very low efficiency. But this can cause enormous chain reactions. Activates the right side organ when the left side organ hits an enemy. Doesn't matter if it kills it, doesn't have any damage threshold, just needs to do it. This can be coupled with a high impact weapon, and you don't really care that it's doing very little damage because it's more the carrier stage for a much more powerful attack that you'll chain up later. So we're definitely going to take this one. Let's grab you. Tentacle of the Dragon over here. Now this one does not have any vessels, fires a self-surrounding projectile when activated, damage 12, critical chance of 8, duration 3 seconds. It can pierce an infinite amount, so the more things there, the more it'll hit. So this is actually a good one for the Boxer Nerve. Projectile speed 10.2, max projectiles 100. Got Cochlea of the Owl and Gland of the Monkfish. Connects to uninjured enemies with beams, damaging enemies caught in the beams. This one can also be quite a nice one. But I'm going to take the Tentacle of the Dragon. It's not a very powerful one, and it does kind of end a chain, but I think we can make it work. Now then, what I would very much like to do is connect this up every now and then. I'm just going to activate this. Well, actually, no. We won't put that one down just yet. We will pop in the Boxer. We'll go for a high damage item. There we go. Oh, that actually said I could just pop this in there. It's not going to do a whole lot of damage, but this will trigger in a lot of different places. Does this have Pierce? It doesn't. Does this have Pierce? It does have Pierce 1. So let's swap those out. Now that has changed up a couple of things. I want to bring back these organs, because not everything is going to be able to connect here. Actually, we'll pop that in. Now I want something that can branch off. There we go. I would like a retina, so every time this connects with something, I would like to trigger this. And it doesn't look like we're going to be able to grab that here. What can I have? Nerve, cochlea, or retina? Okay, we'll keep an eye out for another retina so that I can get the pupa, the tentacle of the pupa going, but for now I can just pop it up there. We're almost at our brain capacity, but that's not too big of an issue right now. I want to get more pickup range. Again, I want to max that out as quickly as I can. And on to the next round. Now, as you can see, I'm firing very many shots now. There we go. So much more happening on the screen. Many more attacks are chaining, and as they chain, they get increasingly dangerous. This is an elite here. It is not a boss. It is an elite. It's an elite because it has a health pool that I have to work through, and it will drop a much higher value cell. It wasn't quite able to show that there. You might have to pause it for a moment, but it's basically a cell with a couple of a different background. It's like blue, and it looks like there's more going on in the center of the cell. Bosses come with a boundary that you can't cross on pain of death. And also, you may have noticed me picking up an organ off the ground. Now, if you don't pick up organs off the ground, you have to pay in order to collect them. But these two we managed to get. We've got the Cochlea of the Owl. Activate the right side organ and make it crit while effects of the left side organ expire. And activate the right side organ while effects of the left side organ expire, but no other specialities there. Efficiency is fairly low down. Now, okay, so we've got a Spine of the Jackal. Activate the right side organ periodically. Very low activation time. Gland of the Snail. Connect up to units with wings. We don't have wings, and we have no real means of deploying them on enemies. Connect to movement impaired enemies. Again, we don't have anything that is movement impaired. So I guess the Spine is the one we're going for. Now, offspring of the Sparrow. I particularly like the Sparrow offspring because unlike the Honey Rat, it moves towards the enemies. Spawn sparrows that last for a duration when activated. Sparrows move towards enemies and cannot be damaged. Again, not very many of the offspring can be damaged, and the ones where they can be, you kind of want to connect them with specific organs that might trigger on death. Offspring of the Sparrow, obviously that wouldn't be a useful one, but it lasts for a good while. Not very fertile, so we would need a very fertile spine to get this to activate, but you can have a maximum 7 of them going. I'm going to pick this up just for posterity, though I don't think we're going to be able to make use of it just yet. Now, we do have a cochlear implant we can go for. Right side, the effect expires now. The effect would expire every second there. We could see how that works, I suppose, but I think I would rather do something else. Now, we've got a lot of points over here. However, you can spend 100 to get a new organ. There we go. Gland of the Black Goat is amazing if you've got any actual offspring, because this will allow you to connect with your offspring and basically make a laser web to kill enemies in. This is the first intestine that we've seen. Spreads the effect of the right organ on the ground, creating an expanding area. Now, this will work with wings, bellies, and poison bags, none of which we have. However, I mean, we could pick it up, but no, I think we're going to reroll. Tentacle of the Dragon, again, doesn't really connect to anything. Stomach of the Duck, once again, not a great one. This, the Intestine of the Camel, this will just spread the effect on the ground. It's for a very large effect radius. Good efficiency, but very low activation time. I'm going to pick this one up, even though I'm not going to be able to use it for now. But in the future, hopefully we'll be able to set that up somewhere. Now, how much effect? No, that really won't work for us. No, we're going to need another brain, perhaps. And in fact, we're getting to the point where a second brain is about time for us to hook up, I think. Right, there we go. Oh, I think I may have underestimated how the appearance of your character changes. It might be that the character changes based on what did the most damage in the last wave. Because we're now wearing the bone crest on our organism's head. Interesting, very interesting. I'm gonna have to try and avoid the cluster of creatures around here. A couple of bosses, elites spawning at once. Let's see if I can get far enough away from you to show. There we go. Larger cell pickup there. Very nice, very nice. And let's keep them kind of clustered because it's going to allow me to pick up all of the cells nice and quickly right towards the end. We've got 8 seconds until the wave is over. Again, anything left on the ground can be collected again later on, but for now, we really want to try and pick up everything we can right in the last few seconds. Right, we've got Retina of the Vulture. Activates the right side organ when the left side organ directly kills an enemy with a massive efficiency. That may very well be useful to us. Connects units affected by poison bag or belly. We don't have either the poison bag or the belly. We'll grab the limb of the skeleton though. Gland of sludge, no. Bladder of the Smilodon. Gain 1 charge when dealing a critical strike. When reaching maximum charges, consume all charges to activate the right side organ. Massive efficiency, but we'd need to crit 144 times. That's a big ask. In one of the later stages where there are far more levels, because you may have noticed each level has got a longer time to complete it, then this might actually start playing in. But right now, no. And I don't really want the intestine of the Slimmy. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Spread the effect of the right side organ to the ground. Activation cycle is pretty good. Efficiency is okay. But I think we're actually going to refresh this one. Okay, we've got the Belly of Schrödinger. Wither the target for a duration when activated. Targets affected die instantly when their HP falls below a certain threshold. The debuff effect scales with efficiency of the left side organ. Interesting. This would probably be very good against bosses and elites. Most other things die instantly anyway. Tentacle of the Starfish. Fire multiple projectiles in a circle when activated. PS2, projectile amount 5. I think so, yes. We've got one more loot, and that is the Gland of the Butterwort. Connect to potions and fruits with beams, damaging enemies caught in the beams. We aren't actually producing any potions yet. We'll need a root for that. Stomach of the Sardine. Activate the right side organ periodically. This organ's brain capacity cost is reduced by 4 when the right side organs have the same name. So, for example, monkfish or butterwort. Or maybe tentacles of the pupa. Maybe like I would need 5 tentacles of the pupa, and this would then only cost 2 brain capacity. You can actually make them cost 0. I don't know if you can make them cost negative, but you need specific stomachs for that. Nothing here seems interesting to me though. Another tentacle of the pupa. Speak of the devil, and it shall appear. Let's see. Gland of the back. I mean, I would like it. I guess I'm going to pick this up for now, for the future. Alright then, so I could pop this in there for a very high damage, and that might be worth my time. I could take this up as well and pop that down around here. Would that allow me to connect? No. At this point, the fertility is too low because we're way too far away from the brain. But let's have a gander. This does 13 damage, this does 8 damage, this does 18 damage. This is going to give it a massive increase. So how about, can this connect to the same things? Can this connect to retinas? It can. It does more damage. Mind you, this is going to drop that damage a fair old bit. But it's going to fire in more directions. So let's pop that in there. I'm going to drag this across. Well, actually, let's get rid of you. Let's see if we can chain a much, much larger connection. That's going to fire in more directions. So next up, I would like to trigger something just when it contributes to a kill. Let's throw in a nice damaging item. Perhaps the sword here? No, the sword is a terminus. Let's go with you then. Then follow this up. This is doing a nice mod. It's 29. That's decent. Let's pop in a vulture and then finish off with either the tentacle of the dragon, which would now do 56 damage, or the sword, 84 damage, critical chance of 34, effective radius. I think this is particularly nice. My general advice is make long chains of weapons. Have big chain reactions. Go for that rather than a very shallow network of just, you know, your brain fires off 5 projectiles. Instead, have a projectile fire off another projectile, fire off another projectile 5 times down the chain. I feel you get more bang for buck out of that. With that done, we are actually not far away from getting the next brain upgrade. We'll finish off the pickup range, and I think we're going to grab a new brain. Now, a new brain goes over here. We need to pop something down. Do we have... Does anything trigger off that? No, sadly not. Do we have anything with a sufficiently high fertility? I very much doubt it. Yeah, that's only going to have fertility 0.51 because it's already minus 20 because it's 2 steps away. All right, well, let's see. We could just have this naturally trigger the tentacle of the dragon, but if we're lucky, could this cycle within it? Yes, because that's 1 second, but this is only 0.8. And then we can pop you in there. There we go. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but we've now got 2 sources of damage happening over time. And this is really where this game separates itself from Brotato. We're not just picking up weapons and adding them to our collection. Even in Brotato, you had some synergies between weapons, but in this game, you're programming the weapons. And I think that adds an awful lot. There we go. We are now triggering the tentacle of the dragon by itself. And so many things are going on now. There we go. This is why I feel that going for chain reactions is a much, much more potent effect overall. Though it does make for a kind of harrowing experience when there's a lot of things going on the screen at once, and it becomes harder for you to differentiate between enemies and your own projectiles. It can get a lot worse than this, though. You can end up with quite a chaotic visual display. And sometimes I find that is bad enough in and of itself to opt against the most damaging, the most efficient DPS out of my organs in favor of something that allows me to actually navigate at least somewhat appropriately. There we go. We've got 13 seconds left on the clock. We are getting a decent collection of cells right now. Let's see if we can't get a few more up here. I think we might not be able to, though. Let's go in there. There we are. Not too terribly bad. Right, we've got our first root. The root of the iceberry. Now, roots, not many things can connect to roots, but most roots don't have a vessel, so this is actually kind of a good one. Detect ice berries that freeze the enemies in a certain range when grabbed at random locations on the map. When activated, every organ located between the root and the brain reduces the regeneration by 20%. Much like Offspring, you've got to get regeneration above 1. There we are. Now, gland of the monkfish, no. Bladder of the smilodon, no. Retina of the raven, maybe. That's actually a really good retina of the raven. We'll take that. Another tentacle. Wings of the fairy. Grant increased organ frequency for a duration when activated. Frequency modifier is only 5%, but it's not too bad. Max stack of 1, though, which isn't amazing. The tentacle of the swordfish there, but I kind of like the idea of grabbing the wings of the fairy, so I think I'm going to pick that one up. Right then, let's see what we can do. And there's not much that we're going to be able to do with the main brain for now. We have easily got enough, though, to increase brain capacity a little bit, and that might be something we want to do. But for now, let's have a look at what we can connect up. I could use a retina here. What can that connect to? Offspring, limb, horn, tentacle. What else? Offspring gland. We don't have any glands. What I need is a root. Well, I guess wings there and roots. Yeah, we need something that can connect to a root. I'm not sure we're going to find one, sadly. We don't have any connection medium for that. Okay. Do we have anything over here out of curiosity? Poison bag. Nope. And nope. Okay, well, we're going to need to wait for something else to get that going then. Right, we've got pickup range maxed. I think organ drop rate would be a nice one. And organ quality, let's get those up a little bit more. Now, cell duplication chance gives you a 10% chance to duplicate cells per level. So if you max this out, you're going to get twice as much cells, which is not a bad choice. Get a little bit more movement speed is useful as well. But I think after that, we're going to pop this into organ quality. So the organs that we get at the end of the mission are just a little bit better, and we'll get a little bit more health as well. You haven't seen us lose any health yet, but there's plenty of time for us to die and fail this run. The enemies are going to continue to get tougher and tougher as time goes on, so we're going to need to continue. This is an arms race between us and the enemies. Like with most games, the later stages are going to become increasingly more difficult, but some of the enemies will get different kinds of abilities. Some of them will be much faster, some of them will come along with boundaries that you have to remain within whilst fighting them. If you've played Vampire Survivors, then you'll be familiar with the idea of a wall of man-eating plants deciding to surround you just as a boss spawns inside. And it's kind of the same thing, only in this case you can't run through the man-eating plants and just tank the damage. The laser beams will simply kill you. Or at least that's been the effect that I've noticed when I tried to run through the laser beams. I may have been low health at the time, I don't recall. But ever since then I have very, very obediently stayed within the boundary whilst killing the boss. Now let's see if we can't dig through the rest here. No, that's not a big enough gap for me. Let's swing through there. Okay, not too bad. This is wave 7 of 10 for the first round, so we're almost done with this run, actually. We'll only have, I believe wave 10 is just straight up a boss, and as soon as you kill the boss, the wave is over. But otherwise, the wave lasts until it's done. Oh, we've got our first poison bag. Okay, it's not the best one because it's of the wyvern, which means it only has a max stack of 1. I prefer poison bags, which have a max stack of infinity, because, you know, what is a dot if you can't just keep stacking it into a massive snowball effect where, you know, your humble 1 damage dot eventually is doing 8 million damage per tick. Belly of the Schrödinger. Again, this adds a wither effect. Not really something we're looking for there. Okay, now, here we go. We've got Spine of the Mammoth, which does have root activation. Very nice. We've also got Heart of the Embryo, which has root activation. Very high efficiency. This one is perfect. If you can take no damage for 4 seconds, then this activates. This one will activate about a second and a quarter earlier, but lower efficiency. But I think if we want to trigger an offspring, this is okay for that. Limb of the German. I think we're going to go with Heart of the Embryo simply because it has more connection options. We've also got a new root. Honestly, this is the one that we're going to be grabbing. Root of the Magnet. Detect magnets that absorb all cells on the battlefield, not on the screen, the battlefield, when grabbed at random locations on the map. When activated, every organ located between the root and the brain reduces regeneration by 20%. We're going to need a lot to get this up to 1, but it is absolutely going to be worth it. Here we have the poison bag of the crocodile. As I said, max stack. Why do you give me these horrible choices, game? Bladder of the clam. Gain 2 charges per second while remaining stationary. So every 2 seconds this would trigger. Oh, really? That's just insulting. Nerve of the Clown. Activate the right side organ while the left side organ hits an uninjured enemy. That's actually kind of a nice one, but we're going to regenerate this. Let's see. Spine of the Mammoth over here. Blood of the Clam. Let's grab the Spine of the Mammoth. Now, I'm going to grab another brain. Sadly, I'm not actually going to be grabbing another brain. Instead, I'm going to continue to upgrade organ drop rate and organ quality. All right, then. We're going to change things up with this organ. Whoop. There we go. Now, what we want over here, I find it much easier to just click on the tile and then it'll show you everything you can connect to it. I want offspring. And the offspring I want is you. And next up, I would like... Well, that being said, actually, I kind of want this in a way. This is the better play right now. This is the better play right now. Okay. Frustrating that we're in this position, but I think we can make our way through it. We do have a stomach there. I could put the stomach connector up. So this will last for 7 seconds, and every 3.46 seconds, we're going to drop down a poison field that'll do 17 damage. That isn't terrible. We can also do a bit more. So, for example, if this contributes to a kill in any way, it'll trigger another effect. For example, we can have a shoot out from it, and then follow that up with periodic activation. I think maybe, yeah, periodic activation, but a nice high frequency. Though that would be better over here, if I'm honest. That will trigger this quite regularly. And then the retina will cause this to wrap up that chain. It's not what I wanted. I really want to get this in, but we're going to need a much bigger brain for that. Or potentially just increasing brain capacity, but we'll see. Right, let's get into the next battle. As you can see, we've now got a little poison sparrow. The color of the offspring will change based on the... Oh, there we go. Poison effect in play. The color of the offspring, and in fact a lot of other things about the way the offspring look, will be based on the effects that they have. You'll notice that the offspring are triggering effects like I do. For example, the rotating, the circling bones, they're happening where the offspring triggered it, and they're following the offsprings because they are now effectively an independent entity, much like me, that has got its own weapon sets. They still require my brain capacity to fit the weapon set, so they don't get a full 8 brain capacity to do it in, but you can get offspring to become horrifically powerful as a consequence of this. You can have offspring that spawn other offspring, and sometimes you only want the offspring to sit still and trigger some sort of area denial ability like that poison. The sparrow are particularly nice because they will move towards the enemy, but you can have ones that will move towards you in the honey rats. You can have literal, like a little tower sentry offspring that will just sit still, can't take any damage and will last for ages. You can have ones that will sit still and will die at the first thing that touches them, which are particularly nice if you've got any kind of effect that triggers on death. Likewise, you can have offspring that will only be damaged by you, so you can create triggered suicide effects. There we go. Now we should have gotten away with quite a lot. We've got our first Stomach of the Garnet here. Activate the right side organ periodically. Every organ linked to the right side reduces the organ's brain capacity by 1. So this could be brought down to a capacity of 1. It's a 4 connection organ that could cost us 1, but with an enormous efficiency. Absolutely glorious. Alright, we've got the Tentacle of the Starfish. Very nice there. The Tentacle of the Pupa. 2 vessels. Damage of 18. Pierce of 6. This is a very, very nice one. The Starfish one, though, is very tempting. Pierce of 4. This one has a chain. 5 projectiles that trace targets automatically when activated. So this is a seeking projectile, and it will actually chain to other enemies as well, as long as it happens within the duration. Let's have a look. Do they connect all to the same thing? I think we're going to go with the Tentacle of Pupa ultimately. Gland of the Hagfish connects to bosses and elites. Gland of the Snail, that we haven't got any wings. Launch a Nova when activated. Basically explode at the site. Very, very useful. And finally, let's get a new brain. pop. There we go. Now, the reason why I've taken that as my primary thing to grab is because well, actually, we might be able to do with this. What can I connect? I can connect to roots. This is amazing. Okay, well, I want this root, and I want that root. This is fantastic. Now, you can see already massive use of the brain here, but that's fine. I would like every 3.98 seconds to create a duration of 3.6 second laser beam between me and all of the offspring that I've spawned, which will do 53 damage as it passes over anything. Finally, I want to add, let's go for, I could have explosions follow me around, but I'm not really sure that's what I want to do. I think that is a better connection. I would like the laser beam to do some stuff, though. Maybe whilst the laser is activated, let's go for something which will cause explosions along the laser beam, or maybe between me and the target. That sounds like a nice, hearty thing to do. That should be good. What can activate wings? I don't think I've got anything that can trigger a wing, sadly. No, I don't. And I don't have a stomach that can connect up. That's fine. This is a pretty potent setup that we've got right now anyway. I could increase our base damage, critical chance, critical damage, effective radius. Now that one's a very nice one that I very rarely actually level up or have the opportunity to level up, but I really should make more of an effort to do it. Now, you're going to see glands for the first time. We will see that once we've actually got offspring out and about in a moment. Now, it does need to be relatively close. There you go, the laser beam. The little arrows are pointing me towards stuff. There we go. And I've just activated the first magnet that we saw. Want to grab the ice berries, or I forget actually what they were called, but the movement impeding items where I'm able to, and eventually I would like to pick up a gland that will connect to beams between me and any enemies that are slowed down. Took our first damage of the run there. I want to grab the magnets as frequently as I'm able, because it'll pull all of the cells to me. Once you've got the magnets available to you, honestly, as much as I didn't do it this time, I didn't make it a priority to grab it, mostly because I wanted to show off some of the other things that we could do, and I didn't know if we were going to get an opportunity to get the magnets actually set up and other offspring as well. But I would say the magnets are probably a high priority than getting almost anything else set up, unless you're at a very high level and are hopelessly outgunned in terms of damage and really need to pull that up a bit. But having magnets just means you're going to pick up all of the cells in that battle, and that is a massive, massive help. Let's grab you. There we go. Grab both of those. So many cells there. We still didn't grab everything because the last ones were just sitting there. But look at this. All of this loot. So we've got the belly of the fire lizard. Inflicts blaze on the target for duration. When activated, blaze can be stacked multiple times, though each stack has its own duration. We've got the belly of the yeti. This decreases their movement. Another retina. Tentacle of the dragon. A nice tentacle of the dragon there. Intestine of the slimmy. Spread the effect of the right side organ on the ground. And finally, we've got the tentacle of the coral. Fires projectiles repeatedly when activated. This one doesn't have a lot of damage, but it does get a good amount of projectiles out there. Now, we've got a couple of other ones. Another tentacle of the coral there, a bit better projectile amount. But the nerve of the raptor. Activate the right side organ when the left side organ deals critical strikes. If you can combine this with a high critical chance attack, this is fantastic. But we're going to go with tentacle of the coral there. Root of the armor fruit. Detect defend potions that grant 1 shield when grabbed at random locations. Duration 3.33 seconds. That's the fruit. I'm not sure if it's the shield. I'm going to pick it up just so we can find out. Right, now you've heard me mention several times on death effects. Activate the right side organ on death. 803 efficiency. Stack this on eggs, and whatever it is triggering is going to be apocalyptically strong. It's an absolutely amazing build if you're going for a more offspring-focused build. This belly of the fire lizard is a terminus, so I'm going to pick it up for now, but I'm not sure if we're going to get a real chance to see it in action. Now then, I would like this in there. Sadly, not quite enough. Regeneration is still really, really low. That is a crying shame. A crying shame. We're going to activate you. I would love it if I could get something else to trigger. This intestine there, perhaps triggering flames Or I could trigger wings. Wings would be better triggered on me. Let's see. Duration is a little bit higher here. We'll pop that in. Now, we're above brain capacity, but that is fine. We are simply going to go into culture, and we're going to finally upgrade brain capacity. Also, effective radius. Let's increase that one as well, because we're now starting to stack that a little bit more. Now, all of our brains are going to have a little bit extra capacity, which is fine. I've got something I can use in almost all of them. This one, not so, though. I wonder, do we have anything that yes, we do. I could pop that in there. I would need another point to be able to connect up another weapon there, but I don't think that's going to be a rough one. This one is pretty good, as is, I think. That being said, the Launch Nova, I think maybe we go for the Tentacle of the Coral instead. The Nova is doing 16 damage. If we pop that in, it's going to do 6 damage, but it's fine. I think that's a solid one. Alright, so we've changed things up a little bit. I need one more weapon to trigger over here. Let's go ahead and pop a... Sure, Tentacle of the Coral on my main attack. Now, we still have brains that we can add if I want to. We've still got another brain that we can add, and a lot more brain capacity too, but they're, again, very expensive at this point. But with the magnet, it is easier to get. But I do believe that this is, in fact, the last level for us on this round. I could be wrong about that, since it hasn't opened up with a boss fight. Might be a 15 round mission, in which case we're going to get a lot more opportunity to see some of the higher level attacks. But as you can see, the fact that the flame is stacking on things, I didn't finish reading the full effect of the Blaze Stomach, and I probably should have, because it's a little bit more than a dot. Basically, when it triggers, it sets something on fire. And then once one of the stacks of Blaze runs out, it will cause all stacks of Blaze on anything that has Blaze to detonate. The more stacks that it has at the time of detonation, the bigger the detonation. Also, if anything dies with Blaze stacks on it, will trigger that effect as well. So it can end up with massive explosions. We're getting hemmed in a little bit around this boss, but there we go. Okay, no, we're probably going to be going up to round 15 then, by the looks of it. That's going to offer us a great deal of opportunity to see the full scope of this particular bio prototype. There we go. Get some more slowing happening. Want another magnet if I can find one in time. Where's the next one going to be? It's sometimes a little bit hard to spot them, especially when things get a little bit more crazy. Stomach of the Gannet. Another 4, 5. This is actually pretty nice. We might set that up. And Cochlea of the Cat again. Now, Offspring of the Imp, talking about Offspring whose point is to die, spawns imps that last for a duration when activated. Imps cannot move, but can be damaged by you. Every organ located between them reduces fertility. But their fertility is quite low, but they last for ages. You can only ever have 2 of them, though. They're an interesting one for sure. Not one that I think we're going to be grabbing for this run, though. That's actually quite a nice one with 137 there. 143 on 0.92 second activation is quite good. But Tentacle of the Coral over here, Chain 4. Yes, we're taking that. Belly of Schrodinger, sure, we'll grab you. We've got some nice limbs. Limb of the Skeleton over here, 27. Crit chance of 46 with an effective radius of 4.18. That's actually a really, really nice one. And Gland of the Butterwort connects to potions and fruits with beams, damaging enemies caught in the beams. This one is a very, very worthwhile pick for our current setup. Now then, we've got one more brain that we can set up, so let's go ahead and do that. If we can afford it, we can't. Much sad, just a little bit shy. Okay, well, we're going to increase effective radius and going to increase organ quality twice up to 6 of 10. That'll do. Alright, let's have a quick look through then. We'll simply upgrade what we've got. For example, I can very easily justify that upgrade. Do we have one that is triggering a sword swipe at all? No. No, we don't yet. Let's have a look at you. 20 there, but I could use this, which does 27. Yeah, I think we're going to go for that. That is a very, very good hit with a 5.01 effective radius. Down here, we've got some nice attacks here. I could go with the Wither. Let's have a look at what that would look like. So it would be a death threshold of 10%. I could go with the Yeti Stomach, a speed modifier of -4. But I do feel that keeping with the Blaze Stomach is probably the better option there. The other thing we could do is we could use this Stomach, perhaps. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I think we're going to keep our Offspring set up as it is. But we could easily pop you in. We're going to need to change things up a bit. In fact, rather drastically in order to make this work. Let's shimmy some things to the side. Now, I'm going to want another effect triggered down here. Now, this is putting the effect on me, but that's okay. This has got a 655 activation. Would this work? Still not. It's pretty much going to be like a death trigger for that, I feel. But the Gland of the Butterwort is going to be quite nice. We're going to have beams with potions. And effectively, this will reduce that cost by 1. So it's, again, a free option for us. So let's go ahead and pop in you. There we go. Now, ultimately, I still want to have a single chain where possible. I wonder, does this connect to the same sort of things? Oh, that's a terminus. My bad. What does 8 damage? You know what? We will keep that. So this Retina over here, let's see what we could do. I could go with Retina of the Vulture instead and connect up something nice and chunky. Yeah, we could go with the swords. Sure, that gives 84 with a critical chance of 34. I think that'll do relatively well. We do want another brain capacity down there, though, to be able to finish that off. In fact, we want another brain. So it's 600 or 700 is what we're aiming for. And then depending on what we get, we will upgrade our creature. We're seeing a lot of different effects now starting to hook around. And you notice the bones are now very much on fire. There we go. Pricking up a little bit of everything. Sort of massive sweep of those swords around the place. Oh, that is glorious. Look at that going. Though it is getting harder for me to see where it's safe for me to navigate. But again, that is kind of par for the course towards the end of it. There we are. I could perhaps look to maximize readability of the screen. We'll see how that goes. Now, one of the things I like about the Gland of the Butterwort is that it will allow me to connect, see where the fruits are on the ground, which is a little bit easier to navigate to then when the screen gets really messy like it is right now. There we are, not too bad. We're getting a decent amount of food coming our way. Or, I mean, cells, but you can think of it as food if you want to. I mean, what are cells to a biomonstrosity like this but food? There we are. It's all fuel at the end of the day. Right, let's swing back up, weave between you guys a little bit, get a nice big chain reaction there. We've got a couple of things up top that I can connect to, but really it's at this point just making sure that I'm grabbing the magnets whenever I get the chance to. The big chain reactions, though, are very, very much helping us get through this level properly. Oh, can I get there? No, I can't, damn. But the big chain reactions are keeping us safe. Gland of the Butterwort there, damage 10, that's a little bit of a better one, lasts for a little bit longer. The Gland of the Spider connects to movement impaired enemies with beams. Now this one can be really nice if you've got the belly of the Yeti effect on the ground. Very, very nice indeed. Another Gland of the Black Bloat, the Stomach of the Penguin. Activate the right side organ periodically. This organ's brain capacity cost is reduced by 4 when the right side organs are of the same type. Okay, well, it still only have a brain capacity of 2, so it's not really that useful to me. But this Gland of the Black Goat might be a nice one. Ooh. Ooh. 553. Or 18 damage, duration 3 seconds, projectile amount, projectile speed, critical chance. I mean, that is nice. But I think the Spine of the Mammoth is where it's at for us. We don't have enough points for either of the things we want, so I'm going to save them. But let's have a quick gander of what I might be able to hook up to. Let's go find the... where's the Butterwort? It is in here somewhere, is it not? Oh, there, right in front of me. What a dope. Right, there we go. That'll be a little bit better for us. This only does 10 damage. This does, well... 65 are actually exactly the same, but it's a bit of a longer duration. Yeah, a bit of a longer duration, which is fine by me. Now, in terms of the gland of the goat, right here we've got a damage of 53, duration of 3.6. This is 93, so it's almost double, with a longer duration as well. You can't really say fairer than that, honestly. Now, this gland does 120 every 1 second, 144 every 0.9. Let's go for that. That is a big upgrade with very little loss from me. I could have another beam connecting if I really wanted to. Don't think it's going to be useful for me right now, though. So we're not really able to upgrade too much for this round because we're trying to save up, but sometimes the rounds will be a bit like that. Now, this round's going to take 1 minute and 30 seconds. Some of the other kind of effects you can end up with are motion effects. So, for example, the bladders. You've seen bladders which will trigger if you stay still for long enough, but there are ones that will trigger only if you're in motion. Those are particularly good to put on mobile offspring because they're pretty much a guaranteed activation. The sparrows are very, very nice for that, in fact. We are getting some really good procs of the freezing going on. I'm very happy with that. Let's get that going as well. There we go, magnet to pull everything out. I can't imagine we're not going to be able to set up another brain here. I certainly hope we can, at the very least, but if we can't, we will probably be able to afford brain capacity. But again, I can't see us not being able to get the last brain setup. Some of the different types of prototypes are unlocked through things like that, like having maxed out brains, having maxed out brain capacity, having X many offspring spawned at the same time. All kinds of achievements along those lines. There we go. Got a couple of elites running around. I'm trying to herd. Only 5 seconds left. That's probably the last big pickup that we're going to do unless I accidentally run over a magnet. No. There we go. All right, let's have a look at how much we got. Wow, we got a lot of different organs there. The stomach of the duck. It's cost 3, reduced by 1. I mean, again, I don't really see the stomach of the duck being that useful. Retina of the raven here, though, 292. That is very nice. We've got a nerve of the box at 61% efficiency. That is especially nice. Tentacle of the mushroom. This is where the quality of organs is starting to pay off. The spine of the chimpanzee. Activation 1.32 seconds, but does 343 efficiency. That's really, really nice. Heart of the embryo over here. I think we've got a comparable one, and one common gland of the snail. Fair enough. Right, bladder of the mummy. Gain 1 charge when defeating an enemy. When reaching the maximum charges, triggers this effect. Now that's 60 enemies. Still, that isn't too terrible. I think we might actually be able to make that happen. Got the tentacle of the mushroom over here. Fires projectiles which trace the targets. I've got a chain of 2. Wings of the dragonfly. I think we're going to grab the bladder of the mummy. We've got one more loot after that. Limb of the skeleton? I think so, yes. And finally, another wyvern. Another bladder of the mummy there. Could possibly have 2 of them to trigger 2 very high efficiency effects. I'm not necessarily against this option. Sure, we'll pick that up. Now, we want a new brain. A new brain is going to give us more capacity than just increasing every brain's capacity by a little bit. More organ quality, please. Let's take that all the way to max and now increase the organ drop rate. There we go. Let's go and check out our final brain. Now, we can open this up with... Well, actually, let me just go and check. Where are you? What do we have there? 677, 651. That's fine. Right, bladder of the mummy then. All right. Let's see what we can do. This is only going to trigger after we've killed 60 enemies. But I should imagine we're going to be able to get shield components. I could trigger wings as well. Now, that's not going to last for very, very long, but we are killing a lot of enemies, so it is possible. When the wings trigger, that will last for 2.5 seconds. I kind of want something that will last for longer, if I'm perfectly honest. This would activate every 2.94. So wouldn't really be that good of a connection there, if I'm honest. How about we go with something that can do a bit of damage? All right, let's go with the skeletal attack. Actually, no, we want a projectile because it's going to be moving out from us very infrequently. This will do 139 damage. Projectiles, 3. Now, at this point, I want this to trigger with Nerve of the Boxer for 61 damage, or we can go with Retina of the Raven for 292. Let's grab a sword there, 64 damage, decent effective radius, and everything that hits will trigger Nerve of the Boxer. Do we have much more to connect after that? What I wouldn't give for another intestine, I'm going to be honest with you. But okay, we've got 2 more components. I could have a Nova trigger for only 8 damage and maybe trigger the Tentacle of the Dragon, fire a self-surrounding projectile when activated. The other thing I could do is maybe throw down a beam connection. It only does 4 damage, but no, I don't think that really makes that much sense for us. I could instead go for something like this. If I pop that in there, that's going to give us 1 connection, but it's going to do a decent chonky bit of damage if we can make that work. And that being said, yeah, we've got 2 points, so I'll pop down a fire self surround projectile. How much does that do? 292. Actually, we'll pop that one there. That'll be that terminus, and then a Nova over there. Okay, so every so many things we kill. This will be the first time I've ever seen the root of the armor fruits, actually. So it's going to be an interesting one for us. At this point, the only way for us to get more items is to gain more brain capacity. The one thing I could do over here is pop that in. Now, it does drop the damage that we're doing there, but this is connected to our offspring of the sparrow. I wonder. Under the back goat, connect all offspring with beams. Now, I'm not entirely sure that this is actually going to cause the sparrow to connect to other sparrows. It might only connect to other offspring from the sparrow, but nevertheless, let's find out how that goes. This is a good time for us to test it out. Now, I could test it out by jumping into the test, but no, we're going to do this live. We'll see. We'll find out fairly quickly if our sparrows start connecting to one another. It'll only trigger once they've actually done some damage, of course, but we may... Oh, yeah. Are they connecting? Yes, the sparrows are, in fact, connecting, it looks like. Swing through. Oh, actually, let's keep a closer look. It might have been a mistake on my part. I'm not seeing lines connecting between them there, sadly. No, they are definitely connecting to something, which is an interesting one. Okay, well, we'll see how that goes as we move forward. But for now, let's just continue to focus on staying alive. We've already got 3 shields. We did get hurt once, though, but I'm not sure if the magnet is pulling in the shield components as well. That would be very interesting. This is effectively temporary health, so this is a very potent route to have in play. There we go. At this point, I feel very, very confident. With confidence, as we all know, comes hubris. Let's try and stay alive and not assume that I can just weather any storm, because I promise you, I can't. The sparrows are definitely connecting to things, but I'm not entirely sure what they're connecting to at this point. They're connecting all over the place to different things. Oh, they're connecting to... they're connecting to other creatures. Interesting. Right, we've got Tentacle of the Hornet over here. Chain amount now on the Tentacle of the Hornet. We've got Spine of the White Fox, 154. Less than 1 second activation. More intestines. Glorious. We've also got Gland of the Spider, which connects to movement impaired. Nice big chonky Retina of the Vulture. Intestine of the Camel. Intestine of the Seed Snipe. 1.72 second activation with 168% efficiency. Of course, the intestine of the camel has a much larger area of effect, which I'm very happy to look at. The root of the magnet over here, duration is much longer, regeneration, it's fine. Well, I'll pick it up, I guess. We might even see more of them around. Heart of the Wolf activates the right side organ when damage taken. Now, this might be useful if I've got shields, but I'm gonna steer clear of that one for now, because it would encourage me to do dumb things. Let's grab a Tentacle of the Swordfish, a legendary version. Let's pick you up. Tentacle of the Mushroom over here, chain 3, Retina of the Falcon. Activate the right side organ when the left side organ contributes to a boss kill or an elite kill. Efficiency 1,325%. I'm not going to take it because it's going to be of so limited use to me, but dear God, that is a crazy organ. Right, okay, so we've got some room to fit some more stuff in. Let's have a quick look-see then, what we might want to connect to. We've got a connection point there. This was definitely connecting up to things. Was it connecting to projectors? Connect to all offspring with beams, damaging enemies caught in the beams. You were connecting to something. It might have been enemies who were affected by the poison bag. That could, in fact, be the case. That would be a very interesting scenario. But nevertheless, let's get rid of that one. I don't think that's the best one for us. Instead, I could throw down, for example, the Tentacle of the Swordfish there. Do a chunky bit more damage, though it doesn't really do enough damage after bouncing off this. So instead, let's go for something like the Retina of the Vulture. Then over here, find the highest damage dealing component, and you chain, so that can split off in a couple of different directions. We will have something which will trigger from that. Does it have Pierce? Projectile amount? No, it doesn't have Pierce, which is a bit of a shame. But that's okay. We'll pop down a Retina, just a regular Retina, and then I will throw in the sword right at the end of that. That's our first 10 of 10 brain. Over here, again, I don't really want to necessarily use this one except to trigger different kinds of effects. Can I have something with an intestine, perhaps? I could pop down an intestine over here. Yes, let's do that if I can. I can. So this is going to last for 4.11 seconds, and every 3.83 seconds it will trigger a... I could throw down the Belly of the Schrodinger. Anything will die once it's below 28% health. That's not a bad effect to have, to be certain, or alternatively I could make everything super slow. I think I'm on board with super slow. The other thing I could do is I could shimmy this down so that when things are super slow, we also set them on fire. I don't see a bad side to this, honestly. This will affect... It'll bounce out of here every 1.66 to trigger a fire. Okay, I'm on board with that. That does mean that we lose a little bit of punchiness on that side, but I think we can look past that for now. We've got a couple of other options around here, perhaps. Realistically, what I would like to do is get this upgraded, pop that in, just for the sake of using something here. This is going to be lower damage, but it does still, bounce around a bit. So we've got two 10 up 10 brains. I would adore it if I could... Actually, you know what? Since I'm already doing this, let's just grab that back. We've already got this here. So this is going to be an easy choice for a 10 out of 10 brain. Let's pop in... I could even have a gland. Connect to any enemies that are slow. Sure. It's only going to do 18 damage, but that should be decent. Now, this one is triggering on kill, and this one is no longer doing a lot of damage. So let's instead go for a regular trigger. There we go. This will still do a decent chunk of damage, but now I just need it to hit something and contribute to a kill. How are we going to improve this one, though? That is the real big question. I don't think there is a way for me to do it right now. I think we need more brain capacity there. Alright, that's fine for the time being. This is the last but one wave, I believe. Let's see some of our effects trigger. Ouch, something just happened. Oh, right. The thing that was flying right behind me that I was not paying attention to because I'm too used to my own units. I told you it was going to happen eventually. Right, there we go. Let's go and hoover up some good shields. There we are. Now we're starting to see that cold effect triggering. Very happy to see that. Let's try and avoid you, though. So much stuff around there for us to pick up. That is kind of glorious. And we saw very briefly there an enormous amount of beams starting to connect between things. That is very, very nice to see. I wonder if you could really set up some sort of chain reaction of beams. So once one beam connected to something, one of its secondary effects was to connect to other, like for example, a beam to something that's slow, then connecting to a beam to something that's undamaged, and then a beam to something that is affected by some sort of debuff of any sort, like poison or blaze. That would create quite a chaotic spider's web of damage potential, which I am all about. That is definitely something for us to look into in the future, I think. Let's grab that last little bit. It does look like the magnet is actually pulling in the freeze berries and the shields. So, again, magnet is probably one of the most important things that we can find. Right, we've got a new intestine. Intestine of the seed snipe. We've already seen one of those. A tentacle of the pupa. A gland of the goat. We've got an intestine of the slimy. A decent activation time. We've also got the limb of the giant. Launch a rectangular strike when activated. Very nice effective radius there. We've got the belly of the blood coral. Inflict trauma on the target for a duration when activated. Trauma can be stacked multiple times, though each stack has its own duration. Trauma deals damage to the target each time it is applied to a new trauma stack. This damage is based on the stacks of trauma already there. So this is really something you want to just dump on someone as aggressively and as quickly as you can. Right, Gland of Sludge, Poison Bag or Belly, that is not actually a bad choice now. Wings of the Fairy, Belly of the Blood Coral, I'll grab those. Wings of the Fairy, Retina of the Raven there, Tentacle of the Hornet. Now, we do not have enough brain capacity, sadly. Instead then, I'm going to pop these into just making us a little bit more survivable, I think. And base damage up as well, because I do believe this is in fact the final wave. Now, we've got an upgrade. Let's see what we're doing there. 78 damage. Now doing 125 damage. Dear Lord. We've also got a fairly chunky upgrade over here. 1924. Let's pop that one down. So what are we doing there? 117. Now 157. I approve. Do we have any better connections there? I don't think we do. We do at least have a better retina. So let's slide you on in there as well. This side is actually starting to look hopelessly powerful. I'm very much in favor of it. I'm going to go with this instead of the sword. This brain is now doing pretty amazing damage overall. I wouldn't mind having something else in there. Might even get rid of the gland of the spider, if I'm perfectly honest. Yeah, let's go ahead. This only needs to hit something, and this just needs this to have contributed to a kill. So let's pop in... Sure, let's go with... We'll grab that Hornet, because I believe there's somewhere else that we've got a Hornet that I would like to use. Do we have a better retina there? No. Not really. Got that sword in place. Do we have a better stomach? Well, this Poison Bag of the Wyvern isn't a bad one. But I'm thinking we'll pop down trauma stacks instead. Drat Down Blast. No, we can't do that because it's a Terminus. So that was my bad. Let's pop the poison bag back and then grab that entire chain and slide that back in. Thank goodness for the ability to just dump a chain to the side like that. We could instead pop that in. There we go. That makes that chain much more dangerous. This becomes significantly more powerful, which I'm very much in favor of. Do we have anything better there? No, not really. Right, let's have a look over here then. We've got a better intestine there, definitely. We've got some more things that I can pop over here. Let's have a look-see. I could put in hitting a boss or an elite. I mean, we are going to be fighting elites. That is a definite at this point. But I still prefer to go for things... Let's pop in, if we get a kill with this, we will trigger Hornet there. And I think that's all we're really going to be able to do. Unless I've got a nerve that has more connections than this. I don't think I do. Sadly. No, nothing else that's really going to fit in there. Do we have something better for this position? That does 42. What would this do? 56. I think we'll take that, sure. Okay, that's decent. We've lost some of the efficiency that we had previously, but I don't really feel too bad about that. It's very unlikely that we'd find an intestine that had multiple connection points, sadly. That's just a very uncommon find. Do we have any retinas or anything that we don't need to have double connections back here? No. Okay, I think this is it then. Let's see what happens. I do believe this is the final boss. Hello over there. Let's start attacking, shall we? Now, the problem here is, of course, I am locked in an ever-decreasing area. Oh my lord, that attack is fantastic. The Limb of the Giant is a massive cluster, though. Very hard to see what on earth is going on once that triggers. If you can get that to trigger multiple times, for example, having another Limb of the Giant triggering off itself, it would be absolutely fantastic. However, okay, we need to get those stacks going. There we go. Look at all the explosions. Truly, truly marvelous. But we are getting very hemmed in. The area around us is shrinking all the while. We've only got the boss to half health. I'm not sure if we've got the kind of damage potential we really need to be able to deal with this boss, if I'm perfectly honest. We might be fighting a losing battle here, as the arena is going to continue getting smaller, and I do believe it is straight up death if we touch the lasers. So it is imperative that we go everywhere but there. We have got some shields to be able to run through enemies, though, and including the boss. Oh, there we go. Hooray! Research complete. Marvelous. Press any button to continue. Time 1 hour and 13 minutes. Stage 1, wave survive 15, and prototype level 26. Truly marvelous. We can have a look at the organs if you want to have a, like, if after your game you want to revisit what really worked well and what could work better in the future. We had one offspring that actually did quite a lot of things. To be fair, this one offspring actually did a lot of stuff. This stomach over here, probably one of the most dangerous things that we had, because it allowed us to freeze enemies, it allowed us to pick up everything, and it also slowed down enemies and then set them on fire by combining with our offspring. As long as the offspring were out, that was a pretty powerful one. And also over here, the armor fruit. Actually, to be fair, the armor fruit was, well, I'm not sure how effective it was, but I got a feeling that is, if you get a chance of getting this, you really should prioritize getting it up and running, because it kind of sucks when you lose a run right next to the boss, or in a scenario like that where I had enough shield that I could run through the boss a bit. But that is going to be it for us. We've got unlocked the prototype Harmony. Very, very nice indeed. Do we unlock anything else? No, it doesn't look like. But let's have a look. Where would Harmony be? In fact, it's going to be easier for me to see by looking back here. Harmony. A prototype whose power grows with the organ variety. +2 to brain capacity when there is no organ of the same name in the brain. Organs of the same name have +1 brain capacity cost. Okay, so it's probably going to come down to the fact that I used a lot of different types of organs for that run, but I will have to check out how that unlocked in the future. But that is going to be it for me for now and for Bio Prototype for now. Do let me know what you thought about this game down in the comments, the similarities with games already out there, and just in general, whether you thought the gimmick of programming attacks was enough to set this apart from similar games out there. I certainly feel that it was. I had a lot more fun with this than similar games in this genre, directly because I had so much opportunity to build my own weapon style. But that is going to be it from me. If you did enjoy Bio Prototype, then you can find links on where to grab it down below, and of course a like on the video and or a comment may see Bio Prototype coming back to the channel in the future. But that is going to have to be it for today. So until next time, and as always, do take care everyone.